How's it going, guys? It's Nutshell here, and today I'm going to tell you how you can make an absolute fortune on Escape from Tarkov's PvE mode, and primarily because of the fact that we have the brand new event that has been in the game for at least a day and a bit as of the recording of this video, which is essentially the infected kind of event for Halloween, where we have a ton of zombies within Escape from Tarkov. So how do you actually make some money? Well, that's what we're going to get into now. If you enjoy Escape from Tarkov, make sure to hit the like button. It is the best thing that you can do for the channel, and I'll be sure to post as much as I possibly can and anything that I find will be valuable to you guys. So straight out of the bat, obviously the new event makes every single map have a ton of zombies. On PvE, the zombie spawns are pretty insane. There are a ton of them, and they've been toned down, for example, on labs from BSG themselves, because it was too difficult, I think, for most people to actually get out of a raid, which is where this money-making tip comes in and why I wanted to cover it today. So, as the background of this video, hopefully that gives you the idea as to why some of these things are going up, because it revolves around the flea market. Now, you might be wondering, okay, so the flea market, there's a zombie event, how does that work? Well, it's because of the fact that everyone is finding it much more difficult to extract from the raids. The success rate of actually going into your raids is significantly harder, which means the fact that people are going to still need the items from raids to upgrade things like hideouts, to be able to make weapon barters, and to be able to complete various different tasks within the game. So what does that kind of entail when it comes to making some money? Well, if you're like me and you have a absolute ton of just random loot within your stash, you'll probably quit in, because I looked online today, I was looking at some of the items, and I'm finding that almost every single item in the game right now is almost double the price. And this is down to the event itself. And so in terms of if you want to actually make some money, I would highly recommend just right now selling absolutely everything that you do have in your stash. If it is just a standard item, they are literally double the price of what they normally are. Looking at things like, for example, bolts and stuff like this, these sorts of items have gone up massively. These were about 25k previously, they're now at 50k. You look at something, for example, like the nails, these were like 20k, they're now 50, 68k at the moment, so going absolutely nuts. And then, you know, your general loot is kind of in the same sort of region. GPUs haven't really gone up a whole lot. In fact, they're kind of cheaper than they once were, which is a bit strange since some of the higher tier items are kind of coming down in price. I assume because people aren't making as much money. Energy saving lamps, those sorts of things are still relatively expensive, but they haven't gone up a huge amount like some of the other items. But you can see here, nuts up at like 40k is what you can actually sell them for. I'm sure that these have kind of disappeared, and you will be able to sell. Primarily what you want to be doing is don't list for the cheapest on the market right now, because a lot of these items, they're kind of instant selling when they come up on the market, and what people are after is picking up lots of them all in one go and then kind of going through the raid. So for me, things like capacitors, you can see, are nearly like 60k basically for every single one. So when we go into our stash, I'm going to go and search for example, nuts. We'll go and search 31k. The kind of mid price probably is like in the region about 35k. So I will go ahead and list up all these nuts for 35k each. And since we've got quite a few of them, they'll probably sell more likely than some of the others, as people don't want to waste time trying to get, you know, one nut every single time. SSD drives, you can see, up at 80k. So we'll just list up all of these, and this is just the time where you can make a ton of profit. If you've been holding onto your items for a long time, if you were wondering like, are these things going to go up? Are they going to be more expensive? Yes, they absolutely are. And we can just see that with a lot of the prices. Even things like flash drives, things like motors, for example. You can see motors at the minute are up at like 300k, which is unbelievable for the sake of it's literally just an item that you would normally find in the raid and would sit at around 140k. So since we've got most of the stuff in the game already, we've fully upgraded our hideout, none of this stuff is actually required for me to hold on to. So the fact that we can go ahead and just make more money off of the stuff that we've already collected just makes it super simple and easy. So obviously that's kind of part one. That's the reason why some of this stuff has gone up, but I'm going to give you a couple of methods to, if you haven't got anything in your stash, if you're trying to make a bit of money, as to how you can do that. So let's talk about some of the stuff that you can do, just simply everyone can do. It's in your hideout. So the first thing is making sure that you are doing your hideout crafts. This is more imperative now, considering how much money that you can make. So if we look, for example, at a power supply unit, it's costing 95k, so it's about 100k, let's call it. But what you'll find is that the capacitors are sitting around 60k each, which is kind of crazy considering you get 6 of them. So essentially you're getting 6 lots of 60k, so you're getting 360k back from only spending 100k. So you're like 3.6xing the amount of money that you're putting into these crafts. Similarly, you've got these cords which give you 8 of the wires, and these are sitting at like 25k. So I will pretty much be dropping in between these two like we did in a recent video where I showcased the crafts. And so these are 70k and these are selling for 25k. So you're getting 8 of these, which is about something like 200k, something like that. And you're putting in only about 100k roughly. So not the best craft, and there's certainly better ones to do. But you can find this with pretty much all of these. You want to be looking for some of the other items. You can see magnets kind of looking all right, but it depends on the price of the hard disks. And you can see these have gone up in price, so probably not worth it. So it's just a case of finding items in your actual hideout that you can craft and stuff like that is going to make you a ton of money. And you can see here we got ourselves Nixor lenses, 57k, and you only need in order to be able to craft them a plexiglass, which is like 11k. So doing that and getting yourself like the special, which is required to make it, since the other two are just going to be used, you're essentially making about 100k for every single time that you make this craft, and you're only putting in like 20k. So very, very good craft indeed. And the best way of kind of getting all of the best ones is just to favorite them. They come at the top of your list and it just makes it super simple. So those are amazing. Similarly, you've got yourself the nutrition thing. So you can see here we've got moonshine sitting around 700k, which is insanely expensive. But you can see that the vodkas are sitting around 72k and you get 10 of them. So it's kind of a 1-for-1 and stuff like that with that. But there's a lot of other things that you can do as well. You've got yourself chocolate bars, which I assume, yeah, like 110k. And the sugar, how much is that at the minute? 135k, so you can make some money on that one. And they're relatively quick ones to do. So literally, if you're just sitting around, you're not doing a whole lot, maybe you're finding it a struggle to make some money at the moment, you can, or you're getting taken out a lot and you've got a lot of time where you're trying to do the event and you want to make some money to kind of counter the losses that you're losing in gear, then this is the absolute best thing that you can do right now. So defibs, if we're looking at those, 633k, but of course you need all of these items, which are going to be up in price. So it's really just checking all of the prices of some of this stuff and being sure that you're going to make your money back. Things like meds sitting around 35k probably is what you could sell them for. And yeah, it's as simple as that with regards to the hideout crafts. The next thing to kind of do in your raids is, if you want to make it slightly easier, is to go in as a scav on some of the maps. Now, the best maps to kind of do typically as a scav would be something like Streets of Tarkov. There's usually a ton of scav extracts that you can go to. And because you're on a scav, you're not going to have as much of an issue when it comes to essentially losing gear. You're not going to be losing money every single time you go into a raid. If you get taken out, it's pretty quick. You can go straight back into another raid once you've kind of completed that, or if you got taken out. And the loot value that you're getting out of every single raid is really good. Obviously, if you want to be making money, now is kind of the best time to do it. If you're an experienced PvE player, you've played a lot and you're very good at it, now is an insanely good time to be grinding out rubles as well as just completing your event tasks. So I think now is a very difficult time for the average casual player, since you can't really turn off the zombie mode, which is both a blessing and a curse because of the fact that, you know, some people just don't want to be playing the event game mode. Is pretty annoying because you can't just simply play a normal map other than customs, for example. But in terms of like loot value and stuff that you can get out of a raid when you do successfully extract, it's very good. So maybe you'd want to run something like Lighthouse because there's a ton of spawns on Lighthouse. The actual infection rate is only 60% and the extract is right next to some of the high value loot locations. But it is completely down to your own preference. And of course the goons can still spawn on lighthouse, etc. And yeah, since you're waiting a long time in your raids, maybe it is just worth to be running a scav for a little bit. Try it out if you're a kind of a newer player, but primarily I'd just be running my PMC with a okay loadout and be willing to accept the fact that there are going to be a ton of zombies everywhere in your raids, and as long as you're kind of keeping distance away from them, you should be able to get extract with some of the gear. So that is pretty much the video. I didn't want to drag it out too much. You guys get the idea. If the loot value has gone crazy high, I've given you a couple of tips as to make some money. Highly recommend running some scav runs where you can essentially just get out of the raid pretty quickly, as well as, you know, getting into draws and stuff like that. So Streets is amazing. We've done a video recently which covers a really good Streets run that you can do, and it has a ton of draws that are going to be even more insane because of all of the technical items that you can get out of the draws themselves, alongside keys and the potential for marked keys as well. So combine that all into one and you're going to be making millions of rubles every time you successfully extract. You just might not extract just as easily as previously before the event. So thank you very much for watching. Thought I'd get it out there, and I hope that you join me in the next one. Goodbye.